Welcome to another episode of the Jets Life podcast. And once again, it is a Monday, a disappointing Monday, where the Jets just completely fall flat on their faces. An embarrassing loss overall. Um, Nothing positive that you can really mention out of this game. Cardinals came out, scored three consecutive touchdowns. The Jets went down, scored two consecutive field goals, and once they didn't score, you just knew that the game was basically over. Cardinals put the foot on the gas. The Jets simply were non-existent. Another situation. Doesn't matter who the coach is this season. Um, Plenty of time to prepare. Obviously, 10 days after that Thursday night football win against the Houston Texans, 10 days to prepare for a game. You're going to travel against the Cardinals. It was a matchup that I was just definitely not in favor of. Cardinals are a strong team. I'm not sure if you tuned in to our AFC shakedown, but if you did, I predicted the Jets were going to lose this game. Didn't have faith in the Jets going toe to toe with Arizona's scoring abilities. Thought the Jets would do something on offense. Seeing how the Cardinals have played this season on defense, they've had games where they've given up a lot of points, and Jets just had no answers at all. Once again, a situation where they're moving the ball efficiently, get to the red zone, and it's like they forget how to play football. Just nothing positive seems to ever happen when they get inside the 20. They show the consistency to be able to move in between the 20s, but once they get to that 20-yard line, um, everything kind of falls apart. And, there's just no confidence in this team. There's really nothing that you can talk about on the offense side of the ball. Just absolutely just putrid when it gets into that red area. They just have no way of punching the ball in. Then the situation after the end of the first half, score was at the time 24-6. Had the ability to, score right there from 3-yard line on second down, and they passed it three times. This after on first down, um, Braylon Allen runs for a couple yards. Nothing significant, but enough to maybe consider on second, third, or fourth down. Let's give him the ball one more time or give it to Brees, somebody. But no, they decided to pass it three consecutive plays in a situation where you had to have it. You had to score a touchdown if you want to have any glimmer of hope. But there was no hope in this game. Arizona just came off as a team with John Connor or James Conner. I mean, um, it was just not going to be a beautiful sight for them at all, and that's exactly what it was. The Arizona Cardinals rushed all over the Jets like every other team this season, rushing for 150 yards almost on the ground. 260 passing yards in this game for the Cardinals. It seems like they got that without even breaking a sweat. It was just absolutely ridiculous. This defense should be ashamed of themselves. This is not an NFL defense. I don't know what has happened. Could it be the firing of Saleh? Maybe, but this defense just does not do anything right. They don't tackle well. They never turn the football over. I know there was a situation late in the game. By that time, I already tuned this thing out because it was just absolutely disgusting to watch. We're forced to watch these games on Sundays, and this team gives us absolutely nothing to watch, nothing positive. All week long, we try and build this team up and give any sort of glimmer of hope and any glimmer of whatever is possible. We talk ourselves into this team being able to do something that they've shown us that they do not know how to do, and every single week we're disappointed. Um, it's just one thing after another. Anybody who's on that bandwagon right now, this team can potentially make the playoffs. Yes, I understand it's possible. 7 consecutive wins. This team is not winning 7 consecutive games. This team may not win two more games the rest of the season. I kind of talked about this before even the Patriots game. I had belief that the Patriots were going to win that game. It was one of those things where it's just like I've been here before, but there's an outside shot. This happens, and I was still surprised that this team let us all down and actually lost to the Patriots. And I was like, all right, I don't see them winning another game this year. And then they shock us all again just to get us all back into it for a minute. And they'll do something here in the next couple of weeks. They'll probably be stupid and lose Indianapolis next week, a game that they again should win. But again, I'm not saying any game on the schedule is something that they should win. They've lost any credibility to be able to take that there's no game on the schedule that they quote unquote should win. They have not earned that right. Um, if anything, other teams look at this team and point at us as saying that we're a team that they should be. I don't care who you are. Even Tennessee had a shot, and they're terrible. Patriots had a shot, or Patriots beat us, um, and they suck. I mean, the list goes on and on of teams that we've gone against that we should win, and we just fall flat. And then, games where, this team maybe, can build some confidence in this fan base. Again, I mentioned this last week. This team has lost, lost me on any sort of hope. Um, and it's all gone now. I mean, let's be real. They're not stringing together 7 wins in a row. They're not. They will likely lose these next couple of games, and that's just kind of the nature of what this is right now. This is turning into the worst case scenario. Everything that we've talked about, what this season could become, it's all up in smoke. It's all gone. That's all this whole entire, I don't know if you want to call it era or whatever you want to call it, under Aaron Rodgers has been. It has been a bunch of smoke, a bunch of hype, and a bunch of disappointment. We are entering a new phase of this team, and what that phase is and what it eventually becomes, none of us are going to know. Obviously, it's a long time before we can start making those decisions and stuff like that. But come this offseason, there's going to be a lot of moving and grooving in this front office. Um, People will be fired, obviously. I cannot see how Joe Douglas survives this, especially after last week's press conference. Generally speaking, midway through the season, he has a lengthy press conference, 15, 20. We've even seen him extend even longer than that. This was just, it was basically tone at the top was strong on that one. He looked miserable. He looked like a guy who knew he was gone. And that's where we are. Um, and whether or not this is a season next year where we have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback or not, it doesn't matter anymore. I don't know what strong coaching candidate would want to come here, understanding that they have Aaron Rodgers here. Um, I mean, there's plenty of talent still on this team somewhere. I mean, we all know what Sauce Gardner is capable of. We all understand what Brees Hall is capable of. We all understand what ABT is capable of. We all understand what Joe Tittman is capable of. Garrett Wilson. The list goes on and on and on of players with talent on this roster. But we have yet to see. I mean, Sauce Gardner hasn't had an interception in 2 years. 2 years. His rookie year was the last time he had an interception. Yes, teams are hesitant to throw the ball his way. But when they do, he's not in the best position to one, be able to make a play on the ball, and two, I mean, his coverage has not been as strong as it was in the past. His tackling is terrible. They had a situation, what was it, on the third drive, I believe it was. Um, Perfect play call. They had it perfect. They had to dump it off to Trey McBride, and Sauce Gardner was in position, jumped the route, made the play on him, started the tackle, and then just loses grip. And yes, I understand Trey McBride is a guy known for breaking tackles and making big plays, but where was the pursuit? Sauce got to keep driving his legs. A lot of things that you're taught in the earlier stages of your football careers, um, how to form tackle, so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. And just lets him go. And what eventually happens? Another touchdown. The story of yesterday was just poor defense and just not enough on offense. And again, the lack of preparation seems to be a situation that has followed this team for the past 4 years, has continued under Ulbrich, and this team is in need of something big, something huge, um, from a football operation standpoint. This season, unlike any other, has shown us that talent does not matter. It does not matter how talented you are. if you do not have a good enough football coach. A good football coach can win football games with a poor roster. And we've seen it across the NFL time and time again. Good coaches win games. Bad coaches with exuberant amount of talent will only win enough to survive maybe another season, maybe another season, maybe another season. And that is exactly what happened with Robert Saleh last year. Won just enough games because of this talented roster, just enough to make this fan base and this coaching and this ownership believe that with the appropriate quarterback, everything will be better. Everything will be fixed. All the problems will go away. Well, Salah was gone after 5 games. Was that an issue with ownership? For sure. At the end of the day, when you went into the season, you talked about this Jets roster and you talked about this Jets team and what they can be. The only question marks that a lot of us had at the time was the coaching. We all talked about how this team is talented, and I still believe there's talent on this roster, but a lot of this older talent needs to go away. There's a lot of poor decisions made by this front office, um, but we all kind of envisioned that this team. We were hoping that the talent would overcome the poor coaching. 5 weeks in, the coach was fired, the offense coordinator is demoted, and we're sitting here expecting for some huge turnaround. The coaching change was necessary. Salah was not doing enough on Sundays to make us believe that this thing was going to turn around in favor of this roster. There was just not enough being done by Salah. Um, but apparently, he was doing enough just to hold the glue together because Ulbrich has completely failed as a coach. The accountability, whatever. I mean, these players aren't accountable. No one's tackling. Nobody on offense outside of Garrett Wilson is really doing much of anything. This offensive line continues to struggle to open up running lanes. They'll open up a running lane, and then this coaching staff will just continue to, just the play calling design is not there. There was that game against Buffalo. I always go back to that. The first game that Downing called the plays for his team, and it looked like things were going to go in the right direction. Running lanes were opening up. I think it has a lot to say about Buffalo's defense. Buffalo's defense that continues to struggle throughout this year, but yet they're 7-2, 8-2, whatever the hell they are now. They just continue to win because they have an offense that can actually score some points. Um, our offense does not do anything remotely close to what NFL offenses should be doing. But regardless, this defense just puts us in a big hole, down 24-6, 31-6, and there's not much you can really do there. Aaron Rodgers is getting beat down. Tyron Smith should be removed from the starting rotation. There's no reason to continue to play him. I know he has escalators in his contract based on playing time, based on accolades, so on and so forth. He's not going to get the accolades necessary. We're not going to make it to the Super Bowl, so we are going to have some financial savings there from a cap situation. But any sort of other escalators moving forward, we want to get him off them. You do not want this guy playing whatever percent. I don't know the scenarios there. Obviously, there's when his contract initially came out, there was like a list of things, and playing time was a big one there. Get him off the field. He's not doing enough on the field. Put him on the field. Take him off the field and put Olu on there. The guy you drafted 10th over or 11th overall that you want to take 10th overall because you talked about free money or whatever the heck that this front office said when they drafted him. Why the hell is he not on the field? What is Tyron Smith doing that makes any of us believe that he's better than Olu? And if he's not, then I think we whiffed on the 11th pick overall, unfortunately, because Tyron Smith's been terrible. He's been awful this year. 7 sacks it is now allowed on the season for a guy you paid close to $20 million for? Every decision that this team has made. I mean, look at Mike Williams. We bring him in here, $15 million. Does absolutely nothing with us. In his first game with the Steelers, has a game-winning touchdown catch down the sideline. That's stuff that he was supposed to be brought in here to do, right? Aaron Rodgers pissed off at him for not running at the red line, whatever. Well, he ran something right there, got wide open down the field, touchdown. That's going to make it work. What does that show you? That a guy who's here wasn't doing enough, guy came in with talent, go somewhere else. That'll be it. I mean, he didn't do much in that game, but had a game-winning play. And he had some moments with us. The Tennessee game I go back to, and I was there. That big, what was it? Second down catch was like second and 16, second and 15, and it got to have a kind of situation. You had to get that first down, or else you're in a situation where you're competing for the ball. In a tie game, he gets that first down and eventually leads to a touchdown on that drive. Oops, sorry about that. Lost a little internet there. He had his moments, but not $15 million worth of moments. This coaching staff didn't know how to use him. Aaron Rodgers didn't have the camaraderie, reputation with him to bring out the best in him, and I think that's a problem here. I think there's a lot of players on this team that are just a lot of miscommunications, a lot of just not enough good football from this team, and it's just one disappointing game after another. And here we are, 3-7, and there's some in the fan base who still have faith, still believe. And sure, I mean, I want to sit here and say I have faith. I want to sit here and say I believe, but none of us should believe. There's nothing to believe in anymore. There's a very good chance that this whole thing gets turned around. And even worse, there's a situation here. I mean, if you're a Jet fan, you've lived this situation hundreds of times. There's a situation here where we're talking about trading Sauce Gardner at some point in the next couple of years because we don't want to pay him. There's a situation we're talking about trading Garrett Wilson in a couple of years because he doesn't want to friggin' be here because he's a talented wide receiver that doesn't matter who the hell is throwing him the ball. We don't have the intelligence in this franchise enough to bring out the best in him, to scheme him open, to you know give him his best season with his best quarterback. It's just unreal where it's at. Um, Brees Hall, he's a running back. Do you want to pay a running back? Blah blah blah. These are all the questions that we're going to start saying to ourselves over the next 2 years to make important decisions about players that have come in and given us, you know, a lot to look forward to. And 3 years into their careers, all that hype, all that promise that these players have shown, we got to pay them. And are you going to pay all of them? And the ones that you are willing to pay, are they going to want to stick around? These are the situations that we have come across time and time again. And it just goes on to show here how important this offseason is going to be. Because the next guy you bring in, or the next guys you bring in, are going to be the ones to make those critical decisions. The ones that are going to say whether or not we're going to bring back Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, and if we don't, who are we going to replace these starters with? And who obviously is going to bring out the best in these players? Because Ulbrich is not doing it. Salah was to an extent, but I think losing, kind of brings out the worst in some of these players, and that's the situation they're in right now. 2 years of just immaculate play from these players with no reward, and then you're just told to just trust the process, all gas no breaks, the eagle and the crow story, or whatever stories this team continues to, metaphors they provided, so on and so forth. Every single one of those stories has led us to this 10 games in to an all-in season, and we're 3-7. We're looking at tankathon 10 weeks into the season. And really, let's be real, I was looking at it even around the Patriots game. After the Patriots lost, I looked at it, and unfortunately, like we win against Houston and hinder our top pick status. But that's not what the season was supposed to be about. It wasn't supposed to be about we want to get a top five pick, top 10 pick, so on and so forth. The season was truly supposed to be about winning football games, getting to the playoffs, have a ticket to the dance and see what you can do in January and February, hopefully. But we're fortunate that week 18 rolls into January, because if that was the case, I'm pretty sure as Jeff fans, we might never see football being played in Januarys. It's just the nature of what it is right now. It's just so unfortunate. I don't see an avenue where, you know, this turns around. We're sitting in that kind of purgatory now, again, for the thousandth. We've been in quarterback purgatory for decades. Since Pennington left, I feel like we've just been sitting in quarterback purgatory. And not saying Pennington was going to be, you know, Hall of Fame quarterback or anything like that. He was efficient enough to get us to the playoffs. And at this point, that's something that we need. We just need efficiency at the quarterback position. You look around the NFL and you look at the teams that are strong right now at the quarterback position. Um, kind of all started with just efficient quarterback play. It's really how it all started for them. The Chiefs, they had Alex Smith. They operated with an efficient quarterback for years and years and years with Alex Smith. They were always, a strong run organization. They were also a team that had a 50-plus year drought from end to end with Super Bowl appearances or Super Bowl wins. But, there was a long period of time that they operated with Alex Smith at quarterback, who did enough to operate an efficient offense, which when you operate an efficient offense, everyone in that offensive huddle knows their job, knows what to do, knows how to do it, knows how to do it efficiently, knows how to do it correctly, knows how to correct mistakes, knows how to adjust, so on and so forth. Everything that is supposed to happen during the duration of a football game. So then when you eventually draft a guy that you believe could take your team to that next level in Patrick Mahomes, he's just there to do what his skill set allows, surrounded by players that understand what is required to play NFL offense. Fortunate for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes turns out to be more than they expected. Turns out to be almost a Jordan-esque type of player with that winning mentality. When that fourth quarter turns on, that game better not be close, because he's most likely going to win it. That's just the way it is. It's almost like that when you play against them, everything goes wrong. You saw it yesterday. I mean, Denver was in field goal range. Denver did everything right in that game. Yeah, Mahomes didn't win the game for them. It was a blocked field goal. Everything seems to go right for the Chiefs. That's just the nature of what happens. For the Jets, it's the absolute opposite. Everything seems to go wrong. And it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter if they hire a coach first, then hire a GM like they did with Rex and Idzik. It doesn't matter if they hire the coach and the GM at the same time, like they did with McCagnon and Bowles. It doesn't matter if they let the GM hire the coach, like they did with McCagnon and Gase, and like they did with Douglas and Saleh. It just doesn't matter. The order of operations doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the structure is. I know that was a big talking point the last cycle when we were hiring Saleh. What's going to be the chain of command? It doesn't freaking matter who the chain of command is. It doesn't fucking matter who's calling what. If this guy's reporting to the GM, or if the GM is reporting to the coach, or if the GM and the coach are reporting to it doesn't matter. None of it matters. All that matters is the people you put in that position, the people that you bring in to be the structure. Doesn't matter what levels or avenues things go in. But if that guy at the top who's calling the shots is wrong, everything's going to fail. It all is going to fail. which leads to where we're at now. It's about looking for that guy. In all honesty, and I know obviously, not getting into politics here, but obviously Trump getting elected is a very good chance that Woody kind of takes that overseas role again. Is stuff you're hearing. Whether or not that happens, who knows? There's still plenty of time for that to happen. But if Trump does take that role or give that role to Woody, he's going to have to go there in January. They're going to have a short period of time to really figure out who that guy is, quote unquote. Do we really want Christopher Johnson being the guy at the head of that decision making again? The last time that was the case didn't turn out the greatest. We end up with Adam Gase in one of the worst seasons in franchise history, 2-14 season. So obviously that did not work. Um, could Christopher Johnson have learned from his mistake? Yeah, sure, possibly. But I don't really want either of those two guys being the ones making the decision. It's got to come from a guy with football knowledge, someone with intelligence. I've seen names thrown out there like Pete Carroll as a potential like head of football operations, and I am 100% for something like that. So someone who has had experience as a coach who maybe doesn't want that day-to-day rigor of being a football coach, but can build a structure because he knows how to program build. I mean, Pete Carroll has done it with USC for years. He has done it with Seattle for years. If that's a situation where you can bring someone in who's well respected in the football world to come in and show build some respect to an organization that really has earned none of it, that would be a home run type of situation. Whether or not he wants to come here, obviously, is the next topic of conversation. He's a West Coast guy for a very, very long time, having coached at USC for years and coached um, for Seattle for years. So maybe he's just not doesn't have that East Coast liking anymore. I know he was here for a year in the '90s and even was in New England for a couple years, however long he was there. So I mean, there's a possibility. Um, Unlikely scenario, obviously, but that's where the Jets are at. They really like it's reached a point where everything else has failed. Every situation has failed. The only thing that you can possibly do is something different. And open it up. No more new GM, new offensive coordinator. Well, we haven't done the offensive coordinator thing except for Adam Gates, and that was a utter disaster. Shouldn't have ever happened to begin with. But no new hot coordinator situation. This really has to be a situation this season, especially if you're going to keep Aaron Rodgers around. If you're going to keep him around, it's definitely got to be a situation where this isn't something where you're bringing someone in to learn on the job. You got to bring someone in to be ready for the job and be ready for obviously potential 1 year stint with Rodgers and then eventually having to figure it out after that, whether it be drafting a quarterback, developing you know, a guy like Jordan Travis or, you know, shooting for the free agency wire for whatever available quarterbacks there might be in the following offseason. Similar to what the Buccaneers did with Baker Mayfield. Take a shot on a guy who's had shown potential on a low risk, high reward type of situation. That's obviously years in the future, but whoever is next is going to be someone that needs to be prepared for that. And a new GM who's being given 4 or 6 year contract or whatever that is going to come in here and just do the whole we got to build this thing the right way, got to build through the draft, got to get lucky on picks, got to trade away all these players, trade away all these assets to get as many picks as possible, as many lottery picks. It's just not what what this fan base really needs anymore. We need wins. We need them now. We need them ASAP. We need them. We can't go through another 3 years of below average to mediocre football in hopes of every single season developing 2 wins, 3 wins a year, eventually for it all to fall apart like it has this season in complete disarray. It's that is not what this fan base needs anymore. That the quick fix obviously didn't work with Rodgers. It's got to work this time. Whoever the next coach is, whoever the next front office guy is, has got to be ready. to get this team built soon and fast. There's enough talent in this roster where a solid coach should be able to be able to work with them. There's enough blue chip players here. The Jets have a left tackle, they have a wide receiver, they have a corner. Do they have a quarterback? They have one that could potentially play. Rodgers is not having an awful season. He's not having a good season either, but he's not having a terrible season. He's not top 10, he's not top 15, probably sitting there around 20. You can win with that if the players around him believe. If the players around him make the necessary plays, if they can tackle, if they can get into a game and not give up 3 freaking consecutive touchdowns, if they can get in the red zone 2 consecutive possessions and not just fall flat in their face, if they can get the ball to the 3-yard line on second down and not just knock in another yard. These small decisions are being made by coaches who just are not ready for those decisions. Bring in a guy like Vrabel, a guy who had success in Tennessee, a true CEO type coach. Did it end up working overall in Tennessee? No. But that team was looking for a quarterback for years. He won games with Ryan Tannehill. He won games with Will Levis. Now, obviously, Will Levis ended up being the death of him as a coach, but he's a coach that can win games regardless of the talent. And I just think that this team is ready for something like that. It's reached a point here where, I mean, I cannot see Woody Johnson going the coordinator route again. I just, it would just be befuddling. Unless the guy Ben Johnson was willing to come here, and even that I doubt is going to happen. I mean, if you're a coordinator right now and you're a hot coordinator and you have options, why in the hell would you come here? If the Jets are going the coordinator route, they're going to get stuck with whoever everybody doesn't want. And sometimes that works. Look at what happened with the Eagles. You know, Sirianni was the lame coaching hire that year. I mean, he's been successful. He has been. I mean, obviously, there's situations with the Eagles that leave a little bit to be desired with Sirianni. But he got the team to a freaking Super Bowl. I'd be more than happy with a guy against the Super Bowl. Shit. I mean, shows something about Philly for a fan base to have some issues with their coach because obviously didn't win the Super Bowl. It's definitely something there, but he did get them to the Super Bowl. Didn't finish the job. Fine, but he's done a lot better than Jets coaches since then. And I'm pretty sure Sirianni got hired the same year as Salah, if I remember right. Not 100% sure on that one, but I'm pretty sure they were in the same cycle. Does that mean Sirianni comes here and is as successful? No. But, I mean, it just goes to show sometimes it doesn't matter if you're getting the best coordinator or the worst coordinator. You just never know. Even the guy we played against yesterday, Gannon, wasn't, a highly touted option as a coach. Went to the Cardinals and worked out pretty well for them. I mean, they're in first place in the NFC West, a division that a lot of us believed was going to be a runaway show for the Rams. And if not, you kind of put, Seahawks or Rams, or sorry, 49ers, the runaway team. Kind of thought that the Rams or Seahawks would be like that second or third team. Anybody who told you that thought the Arizona Cardinals were going to be that top team, you know, probably, you know, probably not the most favorable opinion. But I mean, there's still plenty of games left. Obviously, 7 games left for them. Whether or not that turns into winning the division or being in there as a wild card, who knows? But it just goes to show, you just never know what a true coordinator is going to be when he becomes a head coach. But the Jets do not have that luxury to play that game. They're not the Steelers, who have hired coordinators and have been very successful with those coordinators for years. In the fifth year the Jets have won a Super Bowl, the Steelers have had three coaches. That is insane to think about for a team that just fires coaches quicker than kids get in and out of high school. I made a little conversation point about my son. He's actually going to high school next year, so his first year of high school will be the first year of the Jets' new head coach. And my question was, what happens first? My kid graduate high school, or does the next coach get fired? And that's a realistic conversation that we need to have as Jet fans, because that's just the nature of what this team has been year after year. It's just the way it is. If you're a head coach for the Jets, chances are you better do something quick because you don't have a lot of time. And I think we've kind of run through our time here. If you've been in the comments, please just hit me a like, hit subscribe to my channel. Helps me grow. Your support's appreciated. But yeah, I mean, it's sad situation for a fan base that gave this team as much focus as we could, as much hype as we could, um, as much of a benefit of a doubt as we had available to us. But unfortunately, this team has not returned that same favor to us. 10 games in, and the season is more or less over, barring some miracle. If that miracle happens, then I think this team earned our respect. Fact of the matter is that that miracle is unlikely. That's all I got, guys. Appreciate you guys joining, and hopefully the next 7 games gives us some hope because there's not much at the moment. Let's go, Jets.